This is the second video in the series on land registration, and this video talks specifically about land registration. Wikipedia states that land registration generally describes systems by which matters concerning ownership, possession, or other rights in land can be recorded. So it describes a registration piece, a recording of rights. And also, it goes on to say to provide evidence of title, facilitate transactions, and prevent unlawful disposal. And so it also has a reuse derivation or evidential piece. And in the previous video, we described this in terms of the indexing process associated with land registration. So each jurisdiction has its own legal framework that defines the nature and representation of parties who hold rights which are defined in land, and how these rights can be created, varied, or discharged using legal instruments such as deeds, which are submitted for registration as applications by a legally competent party, a notary, for example, and the rejection rules which determine whether that change can be registered. They also determine what represents an error on the register and what tools can be used to rectify errors, what products, if any, should be derived from the register, and the conditions under which parties can inspect the register. So we're going to talk about a digital registration service because we're framing this series of videos around digital registration. And a digital registration service is simply digital land registration. Ideally, it should be logical, efficient, and suitable for automation. And this is something that's hardly news. A number of the legal architects of land registration systems have envisaged seamless digital registration. In fact, Reed and Gretton in 2017 in the book nattily entitled Land Registration say, in an ideal world, all registration applications would be dealt with instantly on receipt. The register would immediately be altered in accordance with the application, or in the case of an invalid application, there would be an instant rejection. Items would no sooner arrive in the keeper's in tray than they would leave again. Now, the keeper is the lead registrar in Scotland. And so essentially it's describing the fact that under a digital framework, you have no backlog, you have no pausing process. You can just check whether everything is correct digitally and then register it accordingly. And this is the kind of framework we'll be describing as we go through these videos. What we have here is a conceptual approach to digital land registration. The concepts are generic, they should be applicable to any jurisdiction in the world. It's not fully complete, but it provides the logical framework from which rich real-world exemplars can be developed and can then be applied to a localized jurisdiction. So, this presentation will ultimately demonstrate how legally competent parties submit digital applications into an application record. And when this application is accepted, it becomes a registered legal instrument, a deed or a contract that represents spatial rights bundles. And this is also part of a package of digital change. The spatial ownership rights from the registered legal instruments represents the cadastral map or a spatial register of ownership rights, and the register of legal instruments and cadastral map collectively represents the cadaster. And the articulation of beneficial and encumbering rights over a cadastral unit can be used to derive a title. And the set of all titles is the register of title. So here we've brought in a number of the key concepts surrounding how a digital land register will work. See you on the next video.